welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days, and our first day is Monday, July 10th, and we go to Sunday, July 16th. We begin our week with the moon in Aries, though on Monday evening it switches over to Taurus, and by next Sunday it's a moon in Cancer. And we will also be getting right around that time, next day or so after it, the new moon in Cancer. So along with that, at the same time, is a big shift that happens about every 18 months. And that is the north and south nodes shifting to a new sign. And for whatever reason, I mean, they're imaginary points, and the way that they are measured and tracked goes backwards to what the normal zodiac wheel does. So they have been in Taurus for the north node and Scorpio for the south node, and now they move to Aries for the north and into Libra for the south. And some people describe the north node as the head of the dragon. This thing has been called the dragon before, especially in the Vedic, or closer to something like that. And they describe the tail, the south node as the tail. So I feel like it's more, where are you going? So this Aries energy will be leading us, and then what do we leave behind? Where that south node is, and that is in Libra. So Aries is the self, initiation, the warrior, and then Libra is the diplomat, the partner, the one who works on smoothing out the communication. So it's going to be an interesting time, I think. If you don't know anything about the nodes, I highly recommend Jen Spiller's book, Astrology for the Soul. And she has these wonderful chapters on all of the nodes, and they're easily found through charts that you can get for free off of the net. So that's our little astrological wrap up. And I'm going to start with the cards. And I just want to say, take what resonates for you, leave the rest behind. No reader, no psychic is ever 100% accurate, and the cards are all sort of looking at the trajectory of energy based on where things have been. Of course, things can always change. The week in general, to me, has a feeling of starting with that Aries energy, and even the cards are reflecting that. There's a fiery start, and by the time we get to that Cancer new moon, it's a much more reflective quality. So it's it grows in intensity in a way during the week, according to the cards, yet at the same time becomes a little bit more feminine, a little softer in other ways too. All right, our Monday, 8 of Bows, and I'm using the Wildwood deck. So they do things a bit differently. Bows are what we would think of as wands, or the fire element. And here you have a kind of council fire. People are around this large fire. They seem to be communicating, perhaps even arguing, but it has a quality for me of an energy that is ready to be expressed. I have a feeling they're talking about their different perspectives on things in this one. So that is our Monday, fiery, still moon in Aries kind of energy. It traditionally has meanings also like passion, self-expression, putting a positive and fairly fiery energy out there. We stay with those bows, our wands, with our Tuesday with the King. So we get the King of Bows here. And this one is also an adder, so got a little poison bite there with this energy. But this king likes to be in charge, very much so. back to that quality of the fire signs of expression, putting things out there. With the King, it's going to be the most sophisticated expression of that, but still can run a little roughshod on others if you're, going a little bit toward the dark side there. But it also could be great energy to initiate something, get something done. Perhaps, even speak your piece on something. By Wednesday, we are talking about the 10 of bows. So we still are in that fiery energy with the cards. So by this point, the moon is in Taurus, as it is even by Monday night. And, this one has a little subtitle of responsibility. And it is about burdens. I'll try to bring it in as close as I can here. So the burdens are, in this case, the wands are the sticks on the person's back. The person seems to be climbing uphill. You can see that there's, well, maybe you can, let me bring it closer. There's a fire at the top of this ascent. So it can feel like having too much and that something needs to be put down. So it's either that weighing on you to put it down or already to the point of, yeah, I've had it. It's just too much, suffering a little burnout. So hopefully you can catch it before that and put that burden down. We get another 10 on Thursday, and that is our first major of the week, and the wheel, or the Wheel of Fortune, you might know it as. And I love this particular card with the shirt and the weaving behind it, the wheel and so forth. It's just a lovely card. So obviously good fortune, change of fortune, big movement in an important sort of way. So by Thursday, look for some kind of shift. Sometimes they're more internal than external, depending on what's going on in your life. It could be on a more global or national sort of scale, or it might be, closer to home within the self. When we get to Friday, we have the Knight of Vessels, which for them is an eel. They give me the creeps. I cannot help it, but that's okay. I definitely swimming here. This card is often seen as very romantic. Sometimes too romantic. The one who comes in, sweeps you off your feet, then forgets about you the next day, or soon anyway. But here, you look behind and you see this sort of open. Feels to me a bit like a lake and then a creek, something like that. But definitely an energy of movement. There's that strong shape to the body, and it feels like something coming toward you. But because it's in the water, it's going to be more emotional or perhaps psychic even. So look for some kind of romantic or, again, psychic sort of slightly masculine energy. It's a masculine because it's a knight, but it still has those the vessel energy that goes with it. And the vessels are the waters, and that's where we get into, again, the emotions or the psychic work. By Saturday, we get the second major card, and this one is very different than what you typically see in a deck. It moves from the Hierophant to the Ancestor. And you have a sort of shaman figure here, a stag's head, a drum. I believe it's a female figure, but there's always an androgyny that's associated with the Hierophant. Yes, often it's depicted as a masculine figure, but wearing, robes, which is immediately a more feminine sign. And this one, I believe, is supposed to be a woman's body. But the masking is super important, because when you get into the mask, here it's a whole, it can also be a hybrid kind of creature, is another way to look at it. But you get the sense of the impersonal, that when you are behind the mask, you are doing sacred work. So this is so earthy, so located in the woods. It's like what spiritually is calling. Perhaps, a visit to nature is needed. Perhaps there's some very instinctual part of yourself that's trying to speak to you about human laws. And, we have laws of nature, we have universal laws, and then we have human-made laws. So I think those are the Hierophants more about those natural laws and those universal laws, especially in the way that this deck is so grounded in nature. And finally, Sunday. This is the biggest departure in the majors, at least from what we have today. And it's called the Mirror, and it's number 12. And if you do know the numbers in tarot, this 12 is normally called the Hanged One. Well, let's be honest, the Hanged Man. I tend to call it the Hanged One. I like that, gender neutral. But here, completely different. You have a sort of mermaid creature, a crane next to her. There's a boat out there, perhaps someone in the boat, the mirror, the eyes closed, and then holding up the full moon. As I mentioned in the beginning, we will at that point be very close to that new moon, which of course is, you don't see. It's the opposite of this illuminated disc here. But I still feel like it's invoking it in some ways, because it's Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it seems appropriate that we have that full moon there. And then I think the expression on the creature's face is extremely important as well. Normally, a mirror is a symbol of the mermaid. So there's a vanity sort of aspect to that that people talk about, though I honestly think it isn't really that. I think it is about reflection. And we look at water, and it's a constant, or at least potentially moving kind of reflection. So how do we get to know our inner being? And another way I like to think about this card is with the idea that the Hanged One turns the body upside down. So the head is down, the feet are up. So we orient ourselves in heaven, or we orient ourselves in the spiritual, and not so much the mundane. So there's another way that this fits that, right? You have this magnificent sea creature, out of the ordinary, but still next to a bird that does, wade. It's a very sacred bird because it can walk. I mean, all birds can walk, but it walks easily. It walks on the water a lot. It traverses the air, the water, and the earth. So a very sacred bird. And this person with the eyes closed and holding the moon seems to be a conduit for, what is good for us, what is important in the psychic nature, what have we tuned out that we can tune back into. So 3 majors for the week. That's very creative. There's some good feminine energy with that too, because that's the number ruled by the Empress. And then also the 3 bows, so that echoes that too. So there's that creative aspect with that as well, of the fiery energy and expression that comes with it. And then 1 water, and that's it. So not a week with a lot of small energies. It's a week with a couple of royal energies, and then the 3 majors, as we mentioned. And to top it off, I drew a card from the Winged Enchantment Oracle deck, and what we came up with was the chickadee. If you know the bird, it's a small black, white, and gray bird, very cute, and it actually does sound like a chickadee-dee-dee when it's singing, making its noises. And this is what the booklet says for that. I am chickadee, the discernment of right action. I am pure thought and fearless truth. I am the resolution to assert myself and express myself. I am undaunted. Curiosity, everyone has a plan to fulfill, and I am the beacon to help carry it out. Not every destiny is grand. Not everyone can make the headlines. Each of us, though, carries something or someone along just by presence. Pay attention. You are forgetting your irreplaceable role. I am everywhere because I am curious to see the world play out. I watch to see how things work. I observe and find a way in. I do what my nature insists that I do and savor my unique imprint. It is time to let your actions do the talking and finish what you have started. I love that. I think it's wonderful to be reminded we're all important. We all have something to contribute. And that, of course, is, why I'm doing this and trying to help. And I encourage you to do the same for yourself. What do you have to contribute? What is unique about you? And within that, finding some joy. Remind you, take what works for you, leave the rest behind. And if you are seeking some help in your life personally, please consider contacting me for a reading. You can email me or check out my website. That'll send an email too. And the information will be below in the description box. And beloveds, have a wonderful week. I wish you all the best.